clash of frequencies, bro. Frequency guys.
1 2 or 1 2.
They would my taste was coming through, yeah. Technology through, right?
So what they just have to do is take this microphone and they have to scan here because it uses infrared.
Yeah.
So if you take it there, it's going to be different with theirs.
Okay. I've told the chief guy to sort it, so don't explain it to me, I won't understand. Wonder why this thing went off now.
1, 2. And 1, 2. Okay, Brian, just come upstairs.
Everybody, we're going to start, so if you can maybe take your seats. One minute, okay.
Mic testing, 1, 2. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are about to start with our program. Please go ahead and grab some coffee, water, something to nibble, and you can grab a chair. It's now past. I will give an extra 2 minutes just for people to settle down. Then we can. A round of applause. Thank you to our entertainers. And before we proceed with our program, I'll ask for us just to bow our head for a moment to ask God to be with us. Then we can resume with the program. Thank you so much. We can now open the program. It has been opened with a prayer. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Sipoka Zingombane. I am working for EDTA under Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality and a sub-directorate called Tourism Marketing. I would like to acknowledge in our midst our political head, Councillor Sejadu, Councillor Host from the EDTA Standing Committee, also in management from the stadium, management from MBDA, management from EXA, the chairperson of NMBT, Sean Faek, Pemba Sheena, Sadafa, Glenn, EDTA, Acting Executive Director, Mr. Makwabe, the Director for Strategic Project at EDTA, Amelia. Glenn has been acknowledged. Putikolani from Transnet, as well as Alistair, you have been acknowledged. The media at large, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol is observed. With a special hello to Mr. Tati Tsuke, the General Manager for Boardwalk. Thank you to grace us with your presence. This is one of the programs for our Tourism Month. Just to give a bit of a background to our Tourism Month, as a sub-directorate, we created a 4-week theme. We started in the first week where we talk about township development. We talked about township development together. We wanted to grow that exclusive niche market together, not as them, but together as a city, together with the tourism product owners in the township. Then we moved to week 2 when we talk about experience. Mr. Tart and the team, they hosted us at the Boardwalk where we're giving experience of a tourism product. We took kids from Kaile to Boys as well as Healing Minds from Woma, which they came and experienced the product, they experienced the service. We're bringing back Ubuntu as we are named after Utata Mandela. We are Nelson Mandela Bay, and it's all about Ubuntu. That is the second week that we did. And also the product owners, including the top senior management, were also serving staff and also serving patrons that walk into their restaurants, also in their hotels as well. And then now we move to week 3, which we are currently, we just finished week 3. It was all about heritage culture. We were celebrating, we're sharing the diversity of culture within Nelson Mandela Bay. So we ask the community members, which is our ambassadors for our Tourism Month, our local unpaid ambassadors who loves their city, to market and share. Each and every person, either they took a picture, they had a video where they talk about their culture. Everyone is sharing in the culture because we're learning from each other. Nelson Mandela is very diverse, therefore people were given opportunity to share for their culture. Now we are on week 4. Week 4 is mainly focusing on the future of Nelson Mandela Bay. It's all about projects that are coming to the future to enable the economy of the city. So we are here today to see what is the future of Nelson Mandela Bay, what is the future of tourism after COVID-19 has happened. We know very well that tourism has been hit hard due to COVID. It's one sector that really was hit hard. I don't know how many times it has opened and shut down, but I know that we'll strive through everything and we'll come back. So I would like to call, without wasting time, now it's almost 10 o'clock, I will call Councillor Sejadu to come and welcome us into this program, just to give us a bit of welcome. I think most of us came here with jackets and boots. Maybe you're not comfortable. You want to take them out, but you're not too sure if I should or should not. You wanted to move to another chair. You're not too sure if you should or should not. So definitely I'd like to call upon to our political head, or Councillor Chapter, to come and do the welcoming.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Can I just say, for those who aren't aware, I sprained my ankle over the weekend. It just goes to show how fun my weekend was. But hopefully, I'll be fine. Firstly, let me acknowledge Councillor Hoos, who is a regular. I think he's probably one of the few councillors that I know who is a ward councillor, but also dedicates his time to the standing committee he serves. Councillor Gous, maybe I'll never get an opportunity to thank you, but thank you. It is through your guidance and assistance that we are always able to produce such programs. It is through your guidance that we are able to achieve these things. So I just wanted to thank you there. Officials from the Airports Company, South Africa, representatives of the Boardwalk Mall, the Mandela Bay Development Agency, all tourism stakeholders this morning, members of the business chamber, all media. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think by now we have become family. I've seen your faces one too many times this month, and I'm tired of Tourism Month. I think it's probably been one of the most hectic months I've ever had. The last I worked this hard was when I was at SREC during December time, where every day there's something happening. You can't take a day off, excuse me. You can't take a day off because work needs to be done. And as we close off this month, it is important that we share the future of tourism in the city. Ultimately, we want a tourism industry that is booming, that is a catalyst for job creation, that is a grower of the economy, that plays a key role in growing this economy. And I'm hoping that through these sessions, we will ultimately achieve that. This series of programs that we've had has been exciting, has been insightful, because sometimes you just need to sit and listen to what people have. Some of the ideas we will not have as a city. We need you to continue giving those ideas to us so that we can find a way where ultimately we work as a team. Working as silos is not helping us. Government working on its own is not helping us. What we need is collaboration between ourselves as a city and with you as the stakeholders of tourism, as the people who hold this ship on your shoulders. You are the ones who ultimately know what is needed. It is only through you telling us that we can achieve all of that. You know, I get quite jealous when I see how much the Zulu culture and Zulu dance is recognized in our country. Yet I believe we have umkhenso wesiXhosa here. That is a unique tourism product, but we're not using it effectively. We are not using the men and women and kids who dance ngesiXhosa. And I ask sometimes, how is it that in this city on alone, that we don't have a cultural village, something that can excite a tourist? You know, other people go to different countries just to experience the traditions of that area. You want to see abantu ubekhenza. You want to see what they eat. Outside of the things that they will go and order a steak, but you want to see traditional food being sold. You want to see traditional dance. You want to be with the people and immerse yourself with the culture of the city or the area you're visiting. And I'm hoping that with these projects that are coming up, such things will happen. I may be gone by the time they are achieved, but at least I'm hoping that today, as we've been pushing this month, that this is the beginning. This is the seed that we're planting. Utaro Sean is old and gray. He's not going to be here when some of these projects are implemented. But I'm hoping that his grandchildren will know that he played a critical role in ensuring that something happens in the city, that we beautify the city. We make this city a place that rivals the best places in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you once again for being the family that you are, for being people who are dedicated to your work. Even when times were rough, you showed passion, you showed dedication, you showed the willingness to make this city a tourism booming, rich city. I hope you will take off your jackets, and I hope that we will have a fruitful session once again, because all of our sessions have been so fruitful thus far. Hoping that we will build on this relationship, because that's what we want, that's what we need, to build on the relations that we've created. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Councillor, for those encouraging words to the tourism industry. I think she's quite right. We have become a family where we are always said to the tourism industry when I engage with them, I said, I don't work for the tourism industry. I work with the tourism industry. Because then that gives that family that ubuntu. So they know that we're not only moving and leaving them behind, but we're moving together. When we move together, it's easy for us to then collaborate. It's easy for us to reach a synergy if we can't reach anything. Maybe we have disagreement, but we'll be able to reach synergies and we'll be able to collaborate in making sure that the industry does come back into life. It will. Tourism is a strong product on its own. Doesn't matter what kind of a product within the tourism, but it will strive to come back and will come back. Without wasting more time, I'd like to call either Claudia or Libuso from EXA to give us a presentation of the precinct that they want to do for us at the airport. Over to you, Claudia.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Sibokazi has done all the acknowledgements. So, morning to all the industry partners, my colleague Lebusa from our corporate office, all protocol observed. Just in terms of the content, a brief introduction, airport projects, future projects, and then Lebusa will cover the economic, social, and environmental impact. In terms of the role of aviation, firstly, from an aviation point of view, we facilitate economic growth and transport, and this is vital links for tourism and global business by moving people and goods across continents. From an aviation point of view, we also create direct as well as indirect jobs. The tourism industry and the promotion of tourism by Nelson Mandela Bay Metro contributes to South African economy, and the aviation air transport is an important stakeholder. EXA has crafted partnership nationally with both local and national government to facilitate the use of our airport infrastructure and our surrounding areas on the land side, and this will enhance not only local economy, but also facilitate economic growth. EXA partners with stakeholders in promoting South Africa as a destination of choice, which is then Brand South Africa. EXA is committed to the airlift project, and we work closely with the city stakeholders, not only to ensure the integration of the airport master plan, but the city plan as well as state-owned enterprises plans. In terms of the aviation and tourism-related industry, as we all know, it's been the most hard hit, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. The International Aviation Transport Association data shows that the COVID-19 pandemic has halted the aviation sector's growth momentum, with the number of passengers plunging by 60%, which equates to minus 2.7 billion passengers, comparison from 2020 to 2019. Bringing it back home to Chief David Stearman International Airport, in 2019 we facilitated about 1.7 million passengers. For 2020, we facilitated just over 400,000. If you can see, it's basically a drop of 58%. And as the levels, if we go through to level 4, the traffic then comes down. And as the levels go down in terms of level 1, then the traffic goes up. Our best month this year was in April, where we had 18 flights. In 2019, we had about 44 movements, aircraft movements. 2020, we're down to 26. And 26 is good. The highest we had was 18 movements this month. And we're hoping now with South African Airways coming back, that traffic will increase, as well as introducing their new routes between East London and Bloemfontein. East London now being King Paulo, and that will be introduced by the 19th of October. Just a brief snapshot. This is an aerial view. Chief David Stearman International is one of 6 regional airports, and we're the 4th largest in the network of 9 airports owned and operated by Airports Company South Africa. The airport consists of 715 hectares, as well as we're known as a 10-minute airport. As you all know, it's 10 minutes all over to within the city, and that's our selling point internationally, as well as on the African continent. Just a brief introduction of our facilities. We've got 2 cross runways. Currently, our capacity is at for 2 million. As you saw in 2019, we were closely reaching capacity when we did 1.7 million. We've got 12 aircraft parking bays, 6,400 square meters cargo facility. This facility is actually owned by SAA, but currently SAA is not operating in terms of cargo, so they do have tenants in that facility, which is your freight forwarders. Our vehicle parking bays, 1,669. And then I will just have another slide on the 16.5 million pax later. And our main runway can be extended for intercontinental flights. Currently, our cargo is mostly domestic. We're actually doing better than King Shaka International Airport. We've got about 3 cargo flights a night. And they don't operate over a weekend, and it will increase hopefully with the vaccines being produced at Aspen. This is just a snapshot of our stakeholders, AXA as well as all of our stakeholders at the airport. And this list is just a few. There are other stakeholders. But in essence, what I want to say is that the airport contributes to 1,200 permanent jobs. And through these stakeholders, for example, if you use the Bidvest Lounge, they will then create indirect jobs, and they'll use caterers. Our cargo operators will also create indirect jobs, either through courier companies or transport companies. Our airport projects. I'm not going to go through each one, but I just wanted to highlight that as an airport, almost 70 to 80% of the work at the airport is awarded to our small, medium, micro enterprises. There are 2 small, medium SMME forums, and they are the ones that provide us with the list. We have constant meetings with them, and we also use the central supplier database. So just from a civil point of view, in the last 3 months, we contributed 1.7 million towards our SMMEs. This is on the Landside, another 1 million. And then on our electrical, another 2 million. So over the last year, we've actually contributed close to 5 million to our SMMEs. As you all know, our Minister of Arts and Culture, Nathi Mthethwa, has gazetted the new name. So the new name, as a tribute to Khoi Chief David Stearman, Port Elizabeth International Airport has now been renamed as David Stearman International Airport. Just a brief history. David Stearman was a leader of the Khoi people who fought against the Dutch and British colonial rule in the Eastern Cape. Stearman became involved in political activism during the 18th century when the Khoi and San people were systematically dispossessed. This is just apologies. The below is just our new logo. As you can see, we were hoping that on the 2nd of October, we were going to unveil the new name, but now it's going to be unveiled on the 15th of October. We're still having talks with the Department of Transport, as well as the family, the House of Class, and David Stearman. So the new date is for the 15th of October. And this area here, we're currently now producing the signs, and that should be done by the 28th of September, and that's another 1.5 million contribution. Just in terms of the airport master plan, this is for the future. Our ultimate numbers would be 6.5 million annual passengers, 100,000 tons of cargo, and a vibrant general aviation. Our general aviation currently just consists of our training flights, and then there are ad hoc non-scheduled flights, which is your private flights. Once the master plan is done, it then equates into a precinct plan. So in terms of the precinct plan, our planners at our corporate office then look at the land use framework, and then their subdivisions, which comprise of mixed land uses. So the passenger terminal core, which is this area, this will comprise of the terminal building, as well as the airport boulevard, and there's an opportunity for commercial opportunities. The Landside Business Center, which is the dark purple, there we're looking at, for the future, creating a business center, as well as hotels and office blocks. And there, this area will then have a link to the terminal. The Eastern Airside and Interface Western Airside, on that one, we're also looking at support facilities, which, for example, is your logistics. The industrial business interface, the yellow, we are looking at increasing warehouses as well as our industrial park. From an Alistair Miller Drive mixed use, that would just be the light purple, an interface between commercial and residential interface. Our transit-orientated development mixed use, which is this area, that area can be used not only for residential, but as well as commercial, and will then ensure sustainable communities, as well as job creations in the end. This is my last slide. Just in terms of our precinct plan, these projects has been deferred for the next few years, and it would have most probably looked definitely to increase non-aeronautical and commercial revenue. Our terminal expansion, we were going to start in 2021, but due to the drop, we have now deferred that project. And then the parking, we were also going to start parking now this year. And in terms of our parking facilities, we were looking at car rentals, extending the car rentals, their bays, their kiosks, as well as our parking offers. We were going to re-look at the roads within the airport. That project alone would have been 48 million. Besides these deferred projects, all capacity projects are deferred due to financial and operational impact of COVID-19. AXA will revisit the scope and timings of the project according to the airport profile once funding is restored. So besides these projects, over the next 2 to 3 years, we would have had projects totaling 172 million. Obviously, we're going to look at those projects in the future. And then the one project that is definitely business critical is our refurbishment of our fuel depot, which equates to 21 million. I thank you. My colleague can come up.
Good morning, esteemed guests, colleagues, peers. So just to put in context what this deferment of this project means for the local economy and the airport and aviation industry, we've put together just a few slides, 2 or 3 slides, to show what the economic, social, and environmental impacts of these projects and what the aviation industry look like. And that's what I'll be taking you through today. So a couple of years ago, I hope I can stand here. I feel intimidated by this podium here. So a couple of years ago, what AXA started doing was measuring the economic impact of aviation in general. And we've produced 2 reports in the previous year and in this year, which are publicly available if you'd be interested, that show what, particularly what COVID has done to the aviation industry. And we also then focused on cargo operations in this particular report that we did last year. So just to quickly go into it, this slide here is a summary that shows the economic impact of the aviation industry across the 7 provinces in which, or the 6 provinces that AXA operates in. Now the focus of today will obviously be in the Eastern Cape. And what we have found is that in the last year, just pre-COVID, the aviation industry contributed 4.4 billion rand in economy-wide impact, and it contributed to 10,000, or it supported 10,000 jobs across the economy in the Eastern Cape. Now, this 10,000 jobs is equivalent to just under 1% of provincial employment. All right? Now, what you will see in the next slide here is what then COVID has done. So these long bars that you see at the top is pre-COVID, and these short bars is post-COVID. So what you're seeing at the top here is the economy-wide impact of David Stearman International Airport and all our stakeholders at the airport, not just AXA, all the stakeholders at the airport, to the economy. So pre-COVID 2020, March 2020, the aviation industry was, or David Stearman Airport was contributing 1.6 billion rand in economy-wide GDP. And what then happened after COVID is that dropped quite significantly to 1.4. And then over here, sorry, this is not coming out quite well, we are showing the number of jobs supported. So pre-COVID, the number was about 3,100 direct jobs. And these are the people that are employed directly at the airport, right? Post-COVID, we had 3,000 people. So what you're seeing is directly, there isn't that much of a change because companies really did very well to try and keep employment of people. Where I think the relevant information for this particular session is down here. So what we measure, just to quickly define, just to give a bit of definition to what we are measuring here. Direct are people employed directly at the airport. Indirect are people employed via activities at the airport. So these are the suppliers of those businesses at the airport. So cleaning services, etc. Right? Induced employment is employment by AXA's employees, as well as the employees of everyone at the airport, spending money outside of the airport. So to give a simple example, when Claudia goes to Pick n Pay to spend money at Pick n Pay to buy goods and services, she supports a certain level of employment, the people that are working at Pick n Pay. And that's what induced means. What is important for this session, I think, is this block here that is in red, which is measuring catalytic impact of the aviation industry. So what we are measuring there really is tourism, is the impact of tourism. And when you're looking at all these graphs, you will see that tourism is the one that took the biggest hit in terms of number of jobs supported. So pre-COVID, we had estimated about 5,300 jobs being supported in the tourism industry, particularly out of aviation alone, not in total, just out of aviation alone. That took a massive drop to 964 jobs after COVID, based on our modeling. So you can literally see this massive impact that COVID has done to the aviation industry, and even external to the aviation industry. And the question now becomes, what then do we do? So this is past, what then do we do? And maybe before I move off the slide, what we have done as AXA, even at the airport, is we have recently put together a passenger mobilization strategy. What this strategy seeks to do is to attract passengers to the airport and move people back into using aviation and flying again. And particular focus of this strategy is the township market, because we have found that that is one market that does not necessarily utilize flying. Because of the perception to flying, it's perceived to be an expensive form of transport, whereas it's actually not. If you were to compare the cost of a bus or taxi from Johannesburg all the way coming down, I think if you were to look at the rands and cents, it may seem that flying is expensive, but it takes you, I don't know, 12 hours to get down here via bus, whereas flying you are here in an hour 45 minutes. And that opportunity cost is what will then, we are hoping we can drive people away then necessarily from road into aviation, and particularly tourism. What we also noticed, by the way, just as an interesting point, where Claudia mentioned our passenger numbers in the previous year. So pre-COVID, there was a split in tourism of about 60-40 in terms of who was flying and who was on the road. Post-tourism, there is more people driving into the city rather than flying. The split is now 90-10. So 90% of tourists coming in, as things stand, because of COVID and the fear that you will get COVID more on a flight than if you were to drive yourself, that there's a much higher percentage of people that are preferring to drive through as opposed to fly. So we are trying to change that, because aviation has such big economic impacts for the province, and that's why we are trying to change that as well. So lastly, I won't spend too much time on the next two slides. We then looked at just the environmental impact. So we are not just simply trying to measure the good stuff, which is the job creation and the GDP. We will understand as well that aviation has negative impacts. You know, the aircraft moving up into the sky causes noise. There's environmental impacts as well. But we have started measuring those. So what we have found is there are projects at the airports that are garnered at reducing the environmental impact and garnered to reducing the amount of electricity that is utilized at the airports and reducing the water consumption at the airports. And we are seeing this. By the way, these decreases that I'm showing here, you will see over there, these are pre-COVID. So pre the impact of COVID already, there were already activities at the airport, not just within AXA. When I'm speaking at the airport, I'm speaking all stakeholders, to reduce environmental impact. And we are well on our way to doing that. We've also just shown a social impact in terms of the money that is spent particularly by AXA in social programs. So in the previous year, we had spent 42 million rand, and in this financial year, there's a big drop because the company is in such financial strains that we are still striving to spend some money on socio-economic development, but obviously the budget there has reduced quite significantly. So just to close off then, if there are questions or comments, I'm not sure, either for myself or Claudia, MC, maybe you will direct us. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you to Claudia Lebuso for the wonderful presentation in terms of the economy impact, in terms of the environmental impact, in terms of the change of the airport itself. I've noticed, Mr. Makwabe, when Claudia was speaking, there's a lot of SMME development in their precinct. There's also a lot of job that has been captured, has been retained. Not much of change to what it was pre-COVID and what it is after COVID. And I want to thank you for that, because a lot of people have lost jobs within the tourism industry, but you were able to hold it together. And I've also noticed that they're working with us in terms of water issues, because I heard Lebuso was mentioning that there's a plan for water consumption at the airport, not only for AXA, but all the stakeholders within the airport. So thank you for that. I think I will leave it to the floor. I think we need to interact with this presentation. There's quite a few points that they have highlighted, rather being in job creation, rather being the economic impact, rather being in environmental impact, rather being a name change. Anything that was presented, I've just taken note of those few things that are quite related to the unit that I'm working for, economic development. Is there any questions? I would like Annalisa to move around with a mic that will be directed either to Claudia or Lebuso regarding the two presentations they have done for us, either from the media, either from the stakeholders, either from the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium Management, MBDA, or the municipality itself.
Sorry, I don't need a mic. I'm a politician. Sorry, I just wanted to thank you for the presentation. It's welcome, and thank you also for everything that you've done. I've got a weird question, because a lot of the residents have asked me, you've got that plane that was on the stand, and I haven't driven out past the airport for I think the last week, so maybe something's happened, but it's been a while where that plane has actually fallen over. Is there a possibility to do something with that?
No, thank you for the question. When the aircraft fell, we did do a study in terms of cost, and we were approached by the South African Air Force to donate not only the aircraft, but also the other one. If you see engine, there's another aircraft. So we've taken it through all our management forums. It's been approved. So we're donating the aircraft. Hopefully when we do move it across, the residents can have a look and see how that aircraft is moved. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mandisa Magwaqaza, the Director of Mobilization Relations and Chapter Chairperson of SATSA here in the Eastern Cape. I'm very interested to know more about your campaigns and activities to bring the community within the airport space. I think that's very important. Where can we find out more about that information and how we could potentially collaborate with AXA in that campaign and those activities? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think what would probably be easier is to maybe get in touch with me after the meeting. I will definitely put you in touch with our corporate affairs department, and they are running with that particular strategy and that particular program. Thank you so much.
Hello. Hi, my name's Gary Kukumo. I'm not a politician. I'm an aspiring politician. And I hope to aim correctly today. But sorry, jokes aside. Sorry, Ronaldo. But AXA, so thank you very much for the presentation. I think it's very interesting to see. I assume that the picture in the start of your thing is what you want the building to look like in years' time. I had two questions. The one is similar to Ronaldo's in terms of the albatross that's off its perch and the Impala that's going to be moved. That I think fell off its perch in May, if I'm not mistaken, April, May, and it's taken 6 months. That's the view that visitors see when they arrive. Your one campaign is to attract people to the airport. That detracts from the airport. I want to understand why it takes you 6 months to make that decision. So that's the first question. The second question is that in your presentation, it would appear that all your capital projects are deferred. And they're deferred because of the impact of COVID. My understanding is that COVID allows us an opportunity. It's reshaped the international travel market. And what we're actually doing is we are hampering ourselves by not investing the capital at this point in time. So to me, the deferment decision doesn't make sense in terms of COVID visitors. You're going to chase your visitors away. You're not going to attract your visitors. Can you tell me where the decision to defer is made? I'm assuming it's not in the city. I'm assuming it's at your HQ. But who makes the decision, and who do you consult with in making that decision? Thank you.
Okay. In terms of the aircraft, why it's taken 6 months, we've actually had to go through different forums because it's an asset that has to be transferred. As we all know, there are processes, but the donation was approved close to a month and a half ago. So the South African Air Force is just awaiting now somebody to remove it. And as I mentioned earlier, we are going to meet with them tomorrow, and hopefully by this month they can remove those aircraft. In terms of the second question?
So just to answer the second question around the deferment of capital expenditure, you're 100% correct. The decision is made not necessarily regionally, it's made group-wide, and it's made by the board. The reason for that, and we fully agree with you, I think investing in CapEx, this is probably an opportunity for us to attract additional passengers in. The reason we are unable to do so is the company's funding model. So we are funded, the company generates revenue from passengers who land and airlines that land at our airport, right? By virtue of them paying tariffs to AXA. Now, what COVID has done, it has reduced the amount of revenue coming into the organization. And it has then forced us to not just reduce on CapEx, the organization is now also being forced to reduce on operating expenditure. But it is then envisaged that once passengers start coming up again, and the organization is then able to attract a little bit more revenue, we are then able to start investing in CapEx again. But currently, the decision to defer the CapEx is not made, it's simply based on affordability. There's currently not sufficient funds to motivate for additional capacity at our airports.
The elephant in the room that I think everyone wants to ask, it wasn't on the presentation, the lengthening of the runway.
The lengthening of the runway, that is part of your future master plan. And we are going to work closely with the city in terms of getting additional land, especially ERF 1938, just to then, and as my colleague has stated, Lebuso, as the passenger numbers grows and we start now implementing those projects that's deferred and our capacity grows, that would definitely be in the future.
Any timing on when that might happen?
The master plan, the timing was supposed to have started now in these last 2 years, but we will look at the next 5 years now, and obviously looking at the increase in numbers, and XR is looking at different strategies. As Lebusa said, in terms of the transport, township strategy, we're also looking at a cargo strategy. So yes, we will definitely revive it once those passenger numbers grows again.
Good morning, I'm Sheena Wilmot from the PEMBA, the Bed and Breakfast Association. My question to you is, when you saw the dancers here to start, it sets a tone and it creates an atmosphere and an excitement. Is it not possible for AXA to have them, for you, usually when your planes land, you have them in time blocks, for them to be there to welcome people to our city? It creates such an excitement and sets a tone for their holiday here. So it would also be helping give them employment as well.
That's definitely a brilliant idea. We have had dancers from our warmer township, but we've only used them when we have events. So there's definitely an opportunity to bring them through, maybe on a Friday when it's very busy, on a Sunday. Most definitely. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Lebuso, for the presentation and also for the Q&A. Thank you as well, Sheena, for that point in terms of supporting the economy. And Mr. Makwabe, I think, and also MMC, I like the fact that they're talking about township economy. So they're trying to bring out that comparison between a bus and the time, as well as a plane. So there is some sort of integration, Mr. Makob, in terms of the township economy that might happen with EXA. So we must just look into it very tight. All right, without wasting time, I'll call upon Mr. Tati Tsuke, the General Manager of Sun Boardwalk, that will give us an overview of the development of the Boardwalk Mall and what is happening in that precinct.
Thank you, Program Directors. Spo, thanks very much. MMC and the entire leadership team from NMB and the entire corporates that are here and organizations that are here. I want to greet you. My name is Stati. I'm from the Boardwalk. So we're going to take you through what's coming through at the Boardwalk. I think, as you guys know, that we already started with the demolition of the 500 million project that we've got at the mall. So basically, just to kick off, our real strategy, it's an integrated resort strategy. We're slowly moving away from just the casino and the hotel plan. We've put together something for going forward for the coming future. It becoming quite an integrated, resort, where you've got kids entertainment, you've got adult entertainment also in there, and together with your shopping experience integrated in the Boardwalk. Are you ready to? You can just do a. Yeah. I must say that from our side, these are quite interesting times. We've been quite challenged over the past months and a year as we have been closing and opening and closing and opening. But we're looking forward to the investment that we've been putting together. We think that it will change the landscape of NMB overall. I think PE, why did we choose Gqeberha? The fact is that it's quite one of the major cities that are quite developed, and we want to add some impetus into the economy. The economy is quite nourished, and we've got automobile industries and agriculture and the tourism sector, which is quite strong. And we think that the Boardwalk can keep on adding value to the area. How is the Boardwalk more sort of constituted? The casino is not necessarily doing the more. So there is a consortium called the Boardwalk Mall Consortium. So that consists of the Mfuleni resorts. Those are the guys that own the Boardwalk Mall. And then you have a company called Flanagan and Gerald, who are the main guys. They actually about 66% shareholding of the mall. So from time to time, I receive tons and tons of emails, regarding the mall. But there is a line that we've created where those queries and that information that goes through to that. So Flanagan and Gerald are the main guys. They are the main developers. They know the business. They've been around for quite some time. They own the Morningside Mall, the Nicole Way. They built the Nicole Way in Johannesburg. So those guys are the ones that are going to help us a lot in terms of making sure that we keep to our core business rather than just dealing with the mall. I think the location is quite prime for us where we're sitting. We have had quite a lot of research around the area. People have to drive to go to Woolworths, for example, just to get the grilled chicken that you're looking for around the Summer Strand area. There's quite a number of needs that we're going to service around that. We're not just going to create just a mall. We're creating sort of a lifestyle entity that will also include things like a Fen Park, a Sun Park. We're going to have a big screen to be able to, when we have, next year we've got the World Cup. We're going to also, once we've got rugby, we'll be able to pull through an event structure like that into a so-called Sun Park and put it up on the screen. Just a quick overview. We've looked at the different malls that are around our area. There's quite a number of distances. I think the closest one from our side is about 9.5 kilometers, but the rest of them are quite further away from the Summer Strand area. And that enabled us to say that there is a need for us to be able to put something sustainable there and powerful in there. We're looking in terms of our catchment area around the population around 127,000 with about 36,000 households located in our prime catchment area. And our prime catchment area is the Umud area, the Summer Strand area, and a bit of Woma. These are the suburbs that we think that we'll be able to interact with. We also, on our strategy, know that we have the capacity to pull people from various areas, mainly because of the entertainment that we're going to be bringing in. So MMC, we think we want that level 1. The level 2, for us, it doesn't really work. You are being limited around the 250, the 500 mark, etc., etc. So we want volumes. So like the Sun Park that we have to be able to cater for well over 1,000 people. Our ICC will still be alive in conjunction with our hotel. We're planning quite great things coming through for next year. So basically, just in terms of access, in Egress, this is the entire Boardwalk area. So you'll be able to get through the 2nd Avenue and also through our parking on the parking bay downstairs, underground, through the Marine Drive. So there's quite a number of parking bays that are still under development. We remember the old parking bays. We're going to just redevelop them. We also have planning to have the drive-throughs here. The 2 drive-throughs that are still being negotiated in terms of the tenants, whether it's a Burger King or it's a Chicken Licken, etc. So we want to do something that is not there in other areas, so that we can be able to provide a great attraction for our guys. I think one thing that we are talking to the municipality and concerned B&Bs around the area is how busy that Marine Drive is going to be. Slightly worried about drop-offs and the taxis, etc. But we are definitely working on that because we can just see a lot of activity. Our first phase, we're looking at opening it by the first week of March. We wanted to open it by end of December. I think the hard lockdown just had a snowballing effect in terms of our implementation. We couldn't be able to import certain steel, and some of the restaurants felt that they're not quite ready to open. But come before Easter, we want to be open so that we can get the rush through that first phase. Some of the tenants, those are just the major anchor tenants that will be there. The one thing that excites me is the new metro. It's not going to be just a new metro. There's a big development and cash injection there. We're going to take another level, so you will have sort of privé suites in the new metro, so where you are able to have an extension of eating in that space. So we want to create quite a different experience for the new metro. However, the major tenants, anchor tenants will come through on the second phase. So the first phase will be at the entrance, where the NMB office used to be, as you enter from the Marine Drive, up until where the Colcaccio was. It will link up with the casino, and where the section of the new metro will be. So that will be that first phase. And then the second phase will then include something also exciting, is that we're building a Capital Hotel in there. So the Capital Hotel will help us with an overflow, especially when we have bigger events. Our current hotel space is sitting only at about 140 rooms. So, we sometimes get so full that, especially over the weekends, so we are unable to balance between corporate and leisure and gaming, because we also have a gaming strategy in there. So the Capital Hotel will enable us to work very closely with them, and it will be quite great. So it will be a mixture of apartments and a hotel for the Capital. So we're looking at towards the end of next year for that development. I will show you some of the pictures as we move on. So these are some of the perspectives in terms of number one. So your main entrance will look like that. That's the hotel, the current hotel. There will be some adjustment in terms of our building, because our building is about 20 years, especially the casino side. There's a lot of capex that we're spending to just make sure that the old and the new building fits together. This is another entrance at the back, and just the view from the Marine Drive. I'll show you quite other slides that are quite much more clearer as you go. What is interesting for us is this piazza. If you've been to Monte Cassino, you will understand the piazza concept, where you have restaurants at the piazza, where kids can also play in the small fountain area. We can be able to also activate that area with anything. If there's a car show, if any company wants to do something in that area, we'll be able to welcome that. But the process there will be a center management that will then deal with those type of bookings. The Boardwalk, as one of the shareholders, will then communicate with the center manager. In terms of the professional team, like I said, the developers are the Flanagan and Gerald. Architects, the MDS. What is important with the architects also is that the architectural impression of the residence at the back, which is Balmery, it's coming quite nice and clear, and it's blending together with the mall. And that's what we're encouraging going forward, that the entire precinct must be able to take shape, so that people can be able to live close by and can do their shopping there. So we've already agreed with the owners of the estate that we'll have a gate at the back. When you do your shopping, you can just go onto at the back, and your Woolworths will be there, your Pick and Pay will be there, and then you can just go back in there. So that's the kind of thinking that we have. It will create quite a lot of excitement in terms of your tourism. We do have about, on a normal 2019 stats, our international tourism, we're looking around between 15 and 20% in terms of our ratio. We're already busy with that. Once we get an uplift on the red list, there's a lot of people who wants to come through from an international tourism perspective. So we think that by just developing the mall for next year, it will bring quite a number of people to come and also view the area and be much more exciting as a one-stop shop before they can go to other areas. Just some of the architectural impressions. Your big selfie booth that will be at the main entrance, the Marine Drive, will come through. There will be a restaurant overlooking the sea or the beach. We're not going very hard in terms of restaurant. We're more focused on family orientation. There is a project that I'm busy with the casino. Just on the, if you know the casino, there inside the casino there was a sort of a lounge called Bravo Bar. So we're going to convert that. You will also have a view of the piazza. It's quite a great opportunity for anyone who wants to play in that space. We have been talking to the Tiger's Milk. We want to bring either Hard Rock Cafe also in there. So we want just to bring something very fresh in that space from an adult, entertainment point of view. But however, majority of the concepts will be much more family orientated. We're going to get major companies going to be quite big. We're also thinking of digital games for the preteens, where we can host tournaments for Fortnite and all the relevant games that the kids are doing. So we're trying to create some excitement that has never been seen around the Eastern Cape, basically. So that's the front space. This is a lead into the mall entrance 7. So these are the type of perspectives that you will be able to see coming through from a design element. This is just a concept. Mozambique was not finalized, but we are looking at different Portuguese restaurants, also Indian, Chinese restaurants that should come through there. So that's the concept of the Capital Hotel coming through into the piazza, and there will be, due to wind, we will have a glass barrier in the walkways, so that we can be able to prevent wind or dust coming through to other outlets. Some of the drop-offs that we are envisaging, especially at the back. The Pick and Pay Caft Mall area. That's the Capital Group. So the Capital will also have its banqueting or conferencing, but it will be at a very, very small. The ICC will keep doing what it does best. We're planning to host things like the Fishing Indaba for next year. We're already busy with it. The Ironman is still on the cuts again for next year. It's happening also this year, but next year is also still on. So that's, by the way, there's a lot of interest going forward for 2022. So things are actually looking pretty good. So we must move faster with the relevant SMMEs that we're working with in terms of the mall development. Just from a stats point of view on the jobs, we obviously have created jobs currently, indirectly about 1,500 on the construction side, from demolition to construction now. We envisaging that once we open, overall we will create permanent jobs of around 2,000 permanent jobs. There will be a facilitation process that we'll be doing, going to communities, making sure that we work with councillors in terms of getting the CVs, so that people can be able to get the opportunities. So that's the Capital Group. So that screen is will come nicely there. It will enable us to do a lot of activations that are also linked with the casino, and people will then be able to stay at the hotel. Okay, some of the fresh bathroom concepts that we're looking at. Right, and that's really the last slide in terms of the floor tiling, and so that we can have durability on the floor, because we know very well that there's going to be a lot of foot traffic coming through. We are looking at how we're going to manage the guys when they come from the beach. Before, we used to have a lot of people coming in and bathing or taking out their sand in the bathrooms, which created a problem. So if we need to work very much closer regarding the showers at the beachfront, I think once we can get those showers, the neatness of the environment, it will be well maintained. Thank you very much. That's Boardwalk for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Tati. Please don't move. If there are questions on the floor in terms of the presentation of the development of the mall, I see Councillor House. I'll come through. He's a politician.
Thank you for the presentation, and I'm very happy that you chose the best board and obviously the best. Seriously, though, what I would like to say is on behalf of Summerstrand, you would South End find Woolworths. They've been waiting for decades. With that being said, there's two concerns from my residents in my ward. The first one is the taxi situation that could be replicated that has taken place in Walmer Park. It's a big concern for the residents. They've raised it. They're very happy with the development, but they just don't want it to be built, and then the board will lift their hands after the fact and go, sorry, and then it's a complicated matter. So that's the first one. You did mention it, but please just take it back. The second thing is the takeaways on the corners or the edges of your building, or the grounds rather. Please just be aware of the fact that it is a suburban area and that you get the right tenant for that space so that we also don't have an issue where we've got high traffic late at night in the residential area where the routing is taking place and takeaways in that area. Please, that is the request that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. So your takeaways meaning where they're just at the front of the hotel?
Sorry, I mean your drive-throughs.
Drive-through, okay. Yes.
Add on the edge of the land.
Yes, okay. Thanks very much. All those points noted. I know that the discussions on the taxis have been at high level. As to also where it's going to be, there has been concerns raised regarding the noise levels, especially for the guest houses that are on 2nd Avenue. So yeah, definitely we'll look into that.
All right, Sheena. Okay.
Can I just say, and I'm sorry to be somebody who's coming with a negative, I'm so disappointed in the architecture. You know, for me it was such an opportunity to create something different, and this is just a mall. And when I saw it the first time on Facebook, I was so disappointed because your hotel is so beautiful. And what you had before was so beautiful. Now it's just glass and steel and boring. But that, I'm just saying, that is my personal thing, and I'm not meaning it in an ugly way. I'm just saying maybe you're going to do it with the greenery and the palms and bring some life in. But yeah, to me, it's a missed opportunity to have created something more unique to our city and our province. But as I say, please take it not too hard. It's just me having a little say.
For the note. I think let's see how it evolves. We've seen the development in terms of the estate at the back. I think it's something quite nice and fresh. It's quite different from the architecture that has been around the city. But I think let's give it a chance and let's see how it's going to pan out. Yeah, thank you.
All right.
I just want to, I've always spoken as a granny and a mother, that you've got the magic company side. Is there any form of, like, a super tube or a entertainment area for where kids can actually have more fun in like a swimming water environment?
Okay, yes. Oh, super tube, okay. Yes, that kind. We've put it together for consideration, but not for now. So at the moment, the one thing that I did mention is that we've got a sort of a cycling track that will come through at the back. That's pretty much what we have. And then we have Major Company. We're also working with the Crutch to develop it into a concept like a Pappuccino concept with some of the tracks. So the capex for something like that, it's at the moment we've parked it. There is a concept on our head as to where we could be able to put it. We've been throwing ideas, for example, next to the soldiers area. How do we then integrate that? And it has worked very well with the Wild Coast Sun. It has shown us quite attraction. But for now, we think that with the limitations that we have, we won't be able to put up another quite a big expense. We think that with a major company, with the digital games, and some bit of a piazza entertainment with the kids from time to time, and that activation will be it for now.
All right, no further questions for Mr. Tati.
Thanks very much. All right.
Thank you. Without wasting time, we're running a bit behind with our program. I think the common talk around Councillor Hos, Councillor Jadu, and Acting ED, it's all about economy drive. Everyone is talking about economy drive. So we are pulling in the same direction. We also talk about job creation. So the city's vision in terms of economic development, and as well as the stakeholders, it's coming together. Without wasting time, then I'll call on Dorel Oluvuyo. I'm not too sure who's going to do the presentation between the two, to give us an overview of the Bay World precinct. Thank you.
With permission, may I please take my mask off while I talk? Thank you. Oh, that's better. It's one of the privileges of being a speaker up here, right? So, councillors, Councillor Sejadu, Councillor Gys, my ally in the Bay World project, or the MBDA's ally, thank you very much for the opportunity. From our CEO, Mr. Ashraf Adam, we thank you for the opportunity, yes, to be part of this conversation and to share a little bit about what the MBDA is doing broadly, but to focus on our excitement Bay World. So driving here this morning, I couldn't help but go back into the past 12 years ago. So just show me by a show of hands, how many of you were here during Soccer World Cup? Yeah, do you remember how exciting that was? Do you remember all the planning? Do you remember that this stadium was the one that was finished before all the others? This city's efficiency. Do you remember how the parking, how the buses moved, how we moved thousands of tourists in and out of the city over that period? Wasn't that absolutely awesome? It was ambitious, wasn't it? But we did it, didn't we? So we can. As a city, we can be ambitious and we can make that ambition work. And that's what I want to share with you today around Bay World in particular, because as you know, many of you have seen the presentation on Bay World, and yes, it is ambitious, but you know what, it's doable. And that is what's so exciting. And I keep being reminded every time I come into the stadium of exactly that. Now, first of all, I need to figure out how to do this. There we go. So, for those of you that perhaps don't know the MBDA, basically, in a nutshell, we are a child of the Metro. We're wholly owned by the Metro. In fact, no, sorry, we're not a child anymore. We're a teenager, 17 going on 18, with everything that goes along with being a teenager. But we are wholly... sorry, I have a 19-year-old son. Everything that goes along with that. So our mandate, broadly, in a nutshell, is about enabling social, spatial, and economic transformation in defined nodes in the city. So we don't do everything across the Metro. We're not a service provider necessarily. We have a specific role to play. And you will remember that from the early days in 2009, planning for Soccer World Cup, that is when the MBDA really started its involvement in tourism in the city with the upgrade of the Donkin at the time into a fan zone, I think it was, as opposed to a fan park, a fan zone, and the development of Route 67 and culture and public art and everything that went along with it. So we really are committed to tourism. So we have a mandate that talks about a lot of various things that we do. It's not only about building buildings, as you will see. It's about planning, it's about art, it's about psychosocial programs, it's about research, it's about innovation. So where we are now is that we work in 6 defined areas. Originally, you remember, it was the central area, the inner city CBD. Now we've added on several more. So the inner city is still there. There are programs that unlock tourism in various ways, mostly around responsible tourism, heritage-based cultural tourism, but it's also about enabling small to large tourism experiences that you and I and the rest of the community that makes up our great city could be part of. So it is about job creation at even the tiniest scale that can create the most awesome of adventures for ourselves. So when we talk tourism, we talk about local first, because it's about who we are and what we are doing, and then national comes in on the great holiday days and big sporting events, and then international will follow because we've got such a great space. So that's the kind of philosophy. We're also working in Kariga. There are particular areas that we are unblocking there, always with some form of tourism aspect in mind, not solely focused on tourism, but creating the enabling environment. So in New Brighton, a very strong tourism thrust at the moment to unlock the incredible heritage in New Brighton. The cultural stories, the stories in terms of arts, culture, sports, sporting greats, a lot of work in New Brighton, in Corsten Shoreville, areas, the whole northern areas, brought about through displacement in apartheid times, forced removals that resulted in people being displaced, often without ownership, often in rental situations such as in Helenvale, but it's brought about unique cultures, unique cultural stories and celebrations that can be packaged. And obviously the stadium, the heart of sports, potential sports tourism, and everything that's fabulous about that in this city. So the most exciting one for us is in that inner city precinct, the Bayworld program as we know it. So you remember this goes back, I mean, it's been around there many iterations, and you'll notice on social media people are getting jaded, yes, but we promised, and yes, but it takes a long time to build Rome. Long time, and you build it one brick at a time or one stone, and you've got to hew the stone and you've got to really work hard at it. So where are we now? Because that's what's fun and exciting, is that we are at a point where we started with a very successful social media campaign authored by my colleague Luvuyo sitting at the back in his bright red mask that ultimately reached almost 2 million people. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We spoke to people, we heard what they had to say, we organized a whole program of stakeholder involvement around the cities with NGOs, business, corporates, tourism, etc. We listened. For a long time we listened, and then we synthesized. So what did we hear people saying? We asked the question, so what do we have that's unique? What makes us world class? Because that's what we want to be. We don't just want to be another tourism destination, we need to be different, and we need to be great. And what is going to make us different and great? And out of all of those conversations and synthesizing, the answer was heritage, heritage, heritage. Councillor, you spoke about the unique Xhosa heritage. This is its hometown, homegrown. This is where I think 88% of all Xhosa people live. It's an incredible heritage that we don't do anything about. Anywhere else we'd have universities and printing presses and movie makers, and it would be a whole tourism activity on its own. So that we've got, and we've got a whole lot that goes with that too. But before we got to those, unpacking that, we said, well, so where does this sit? Where does this Bayworld sit? And it's just so obvious that Bayworld and the waterfront and the Barkens Valley upgrade, which we have also been doing a lot of work on, is the big game changer for the city. Not only from tourism, economic development, but if you take, oh sorry, that went a little bit too fast. If you take those parcels of land that have been shaded in yellow, and you take that is probably about 200 hectares of prime land that can be developed into unique, a waterfront that isn't only about the sea, but also about the two river systems, as I'll show you in a minute, like that you have the new city being the proposed waterfront, and you've got the two green wings, one being the Baywald program, one being the Barkens program that unlocks everything that's unique heritage-wise. Then you've got a city that's crumbling, a CBD that's crumbling a bit. You know, there are lots and lots of abandoned buildings, but those buildings can be the new homes of a new, young, dynamic workforce with incredible Xhosa mixed heritage cultures that creates a new old town feel, you know, where the jive, where the jazz and the creative artisanals and the traditional designers. That's what we're looking at as the bigger picture of tourism in this spot. So Baywald program is not about Baywald, the place where dolphins used to jump. The Baywald program is about 50 hectares of underutilized land. You couple with that another 45, 50 of the Barkens precinct, and we're thinking environment, fabulous places to walk, to party, to be, to have free entertainment. So it becomes socially inclusive. It's not an exclusive environment anymore. The new city, yes, can be all the zhuzh and the high end and make the money and Cape Town waterfront. But right next to that, you've got the old city and the potential of what the green environment gives you. And we're sitting with world class. World class. There is nowhere else in the world where you have got what we have to offer. What are the two differentiators? One is everything that we've got that's unique and green, and we know it all in this room. Van der Kenskloof, Van Stadens, we are malaria-free environment. You see the big 7:45 minutes from an airport. We've got 24,000 bottlenose dolphins. Our closest competitor in Australia has got 4 in their bay. So there, we're great. Let's just take all those things that we have, all of those museums, monuments, environment, animals, flora and fauna. All we need to do is package it, because we've got it all. We've got world class right here, guys. We're so blasé about it, we don't even realize it. But what we don't do is we don't package it enough. Councillor, you were saying that we don't brand the dancing local. We don't use it. We don't make it work for us. And that's what Baywald is all about, because Baywald we see as being the headquarters of all of that. The second differentiator was the cultures, because not only the unique Xhosa culture, but the whole system of apartheid, the mixed cultural heritages that live here. The forced removals have created new cultures, different forms of expression, different political drive to make change happen, argued, fighted, the Defiance campaign started here. We've got all of that, lots and lots of stories to be told, lots of experiences and small adventures that you can put on an Airbnb experience and generate income as small businesses. That's what we're talking about with Baywald. So I'll just move quickly. So through these processes, through listening what people said we have and the opportunities, we developed vision, mission, and objectives which speak to conservation, education, job creation and economic growth, and also conserving and looking after what we've got. So they're all there. I'm not going to read them out. We then moved to saying, all right, how do we look at this no longer place called Baywald, but the program called Baywald? Because Baywald is now leapfrogged into something way bigger than dolphins not there anymore and in Hong Kong and when are they coming back and all. Way beyond that. Baywald has the potential to really, really move us into something else. It is already being considered a mega project, by the way, nationally, just FYI. So we looked at a new model. How are we going to make it work? How do we make it work as a headquarters to unlock what the central Baywald, the little yellow bubbles, are each of the wonderful tourism opportunities that we have in our metro, but beyond. How do we get it paid for at the bottom? Who are the key role players and stakeholders? Who's going to use it? And we figured out a model that we really believe, like the stadium in 2010, is doable. going to take a lot of working together, making it happen, but it's doable. So there's a quick summary. The Bayworld part of it, because that's what we're talking about today in the bigger picture context, 55 hectares. It affects a number of sectors. There are 13 catalytic projects, half of which need to be funded through intergovernment relations, and other government departments come into the mix, half of them private sector. So again, this is all about partnerships for making it happen. And we've started those discussions. We're looking at where we're going to find the 2.3 billion to make it work. We're in good discussions with National Treasury on starting grant funding to do the infrastructure base. It has that potential of contributing to the GDP in a big way. It's going to create a lot of jobs, temporary and permanent. We can do some really amazing EPWP programs for a change. Sorry, EPWP custodians, I think. My colleagues, no offense to you, but we can really do something that grows people, that gives them career opportunities, that builds their ability to be ambassadors out of the EPWP, not just putting a stipend and at the end of the stipend there's no sustainability. Same with the SMMEs. Because it's such a large program, you can have a structured SMME program that grows and develops SMMEs through the CIDB gradings. And it is something that is going to need partnerships. So 13 different, very exciting projects. Who asked the question about the slippy slides and the water? There you have it. Project 11, Water World, on the bowling green behind Bayworld, the Ushaka Marine version, but always with an entertainment and an educational aspect to it. So I won't go through them all in detail, but that's how we propose to subdivide the land. So you'll see there's a big area of green that cannot be built on because it floods during the flood, so a 100-year flood line, but you can do some wonderful adventure activities. You can have, similar to what we heard before, bicycle pump trails, you can have a butterfly park, you can have cricket, you can have the world's your oyster. But the intention is that the land would be apportioned up, concessions via and through EDTA, to get emerging entrepreneurs to be able to offer a variety of fun adventure activities. So much like what you'd find between here and Knysna with all those various things, a maze and a bicycle and a bow and arrow shooting, similar ideas, but that you'd activate that entire precinct from the bottom, from the sea. So you're actually extending your tourism strip all the way up to, excitingly, what the airports company is going to do literally across the road. I mean, where do you find that in the world, that you can get off the plane and virtually walk right to the sea in an environment like that? It's just special. We had a young student at the time, now young graduate, called Spakema Vilakazi. We asked him to do some thinking about what this unique environment could look like. And he came across, or he did the images of a building that can harvest water, you can grow food on it, you can create your own energy, and it is just an example of world-class architecture. So it could be our Sydney Opera House, or our Eiffel Tower, or our Statue of Liberty. An iconic environment that even the building is something to look forward to. So I'll try and move on. So in the valley, adventure activities happening. There's a housing component because we do believe in full inclusivity, so affordable housing to enable people that may not have been able to live close to a working environment such as what Bayworld or the waterfront could be, that there are high density but low-rise apartments, probably 45 to maybe 70 square meters, that some would be for rental, some would be for first-time homeowners that are subsidized. There is the possibility still that an ICC could be built on the old Telkom Park land. We would fall into a second-tier city category, which means that the size and the type would be very similar to Monaco. This is Monaco's ICC. That is the scale of what we would be able to sustain according to the feasibility studies that we have done. And so I've just used their image just to locate it because it is not unfeasible that we could have water bodies in the Telkom Park area where there already is potential flooding. We could dam up water and create this unique environment. Okay, so that's the big dream. Very exciting. Is it going to happen? Yes. It's actually started. And that's what I'm really so excited to share with you today, because we have started slowly during lockdown, which has been traumatic for all of us, I know. But actually there's been such a lot of good that's come out of it too. Different approaches, looking at things differently, forced into being online and opening up a facility like Bayworld to the world, understanding what do you do to do that. And through lockdown, we've realized that Bayworld, the museum part in particular, which is world-class for a number of reasons too, researchers and so on, you suddenly can start offering that education not only to the children, 100,000 of them that come to visit every year, some of them never seen the sea before, you can start offering it to the rest of the country. And guess what? You can start offering it to the rest of the world. So you're taking Bayworld and this city to the rest of the world. So we've spent a lot of time understanding what that looks like. But we've started a small pilot in the old cafeteria. You'll remember that there was a killer whale that beached early last year, this year. I've lost track of time. That killer whale, it's unusual. Killer whales don't beach here. But this one did. And why? So the experts at Bayworld dissected and found out what happened, and yes, it's a conservation issue. Fishermen's ropes, plastic, all of those things that we know is happening, but we're kind of not taking it seriously. This gives us an opportunity to start teaching our children about that, but also about sharing what are new jobs and new opportunities. So this tiny little cafe is going to be the hub of the future Bayworld. So in here, we are a virtual reality hub where we will be sharing exactly the awesomeness that is going to happen at Bayworld, and it will give us a new tourism experience by the end of the year, early next year, because you'd be able to come in here in an underwater environment created through virtual experiences, lights and sounds and projection, but it will give you a good idea of what's to come in Bayworld. So the second exciting thing is on Thursday last week, if you read the smalls in the newspaper, you would have seen that the advert for the development of a sanctuary at Bayworld is out, which means that we are moving forward on a substantial capital project, which ironically doesn't involve too much building, but involves a lot of demolition. But by the end of it, the pools, the grandstand, and all of those buildings which are in a very, very sorry state, a very dangerous sorry state, will be demolished. In order to demolish them, the animals which are currently living, the penguins, the seals, the otters that are currently living right next to this, have to be moved to the back. So we're creating a relocation facility temporarily, and then once we have completed, this area will be landscaped into an outdoor event space. So whether we have whale festivals or dolphin festivals where we build public art out of recycled material, or whether we have telescopes looking at the dolphins in a responsible tourism way, or we don't know, because that's up to all of you and all of the events makers to make that space work. But we will have a much better, safer, happier space. So that's in process. This we anticipate will be completed by at least this time next year, if not before. So that's moving. That is a significant, significant move, because you are now unblocking the most strategic piece of land possibly still available on the beachfront to do something phenomenal. And that's where the iconic building that we are thinking about will happen. We have also partnered with the AIDC, the Automotive Industry Development Corporation, which is a sister company, so similar to economic development in province as we are to the metro, that has a mandate of looking at the industrial part of the city and showcasing the motor industry, building capacity around technology, motor industry related. So it's the start of a conferencing display for big robotics, megatronic, motor industry related, not solely motor industry, but beyond. That will also stimulate young minds in new careers. It will be the start of a conferencing facility located in the Telkom Park precinct where the old entrance used to be. And we are at design stage 2.5. What does that mean? It means that we are ready to go to the city for permission to build. The a big hurdle that we need to overcome is to unlock the land so that the city agrees that the land is made available. It comes with funding from Germany. Deutsche Messe is very keen and supportive of this initiative, so there's partial funding. DTI has been in conversations about funding as well. So this one is almost ready to go. The moment we can get the land sorted out, we can submit plans for approval, and we can start construction probably within a 6 to 8 month period, depending on how funding is released. So it's quite far down the line. Do you see what I'm getting at? That there are things happening. You might not be seeing them on the ground yet, but they are. And then there's a bunch of other things that we've been doing. The most exciting of which is through EDTA, our working partners, or our parent and custodian in the municipality, we have been able to access National Treasury grant funding to start looking at, in particular, 2 aspects. One, the Killer Whale Cafe. How do we do fabulous things downstairs and upstairs, bathyspheres, exciting VR experiences as well in that first early start project. And the second exciting one is that we will start planning for the green lung, because we do see that that green lung, the adventure area, is a city competency. We do believe that that is something, because it can have a great EPWP program, and we do believe that that is something that we can start working on. So we will start planning. You'll see adverts calling for input and professional. We'll have the usual, a lot of stakeholder involvement to understand what does that mean, how do we manage it, what needs to be in there. And that is it. Our website details, if you have any questions, if you'd like the presentation, please pop us a mail, or Luvuyo will gladly share any information and documents with you if you would like any of that. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Donald. Is any questions on the floor? We've got a question. Noted, Councillor.
Durrell, thank you very much for that presentation, and thank you for the positive view you have of our metro. It's a fantastic one, and you're right. When we're standing in a project that is a fantastic project that no one thought would happen. The problem for me is that I've been in a presentation with you before, where I think in 2019 you said that there would be ground moved or shifted, or demolition would have taken place at Bay World, and that hasn't taken place. So, I mean, it's not an... I want to understand why is that happening. My understanding is that MBDA doesn't have the capex to do the basics, and the question then is why doesn't it have the capex if you are an agency, a child of the municipality? You know, and it's this thing, build it and they will come, which Bayworld is demonstrating, not Bayworld, but the Boardwalk is demonstrating, which the airports company is not, you know. And it's not a reflection on the airports company people here, but it's just, if you want people to come, you have to invest. In order to invest, you have to find the money somewhere. So I'm interested why that money hasn't arrived and where it comes from. And the other question would be, is in terms of the waterfront development. The key obstacle in that is the moving of the current facilities there, the iron ore, manganese, and the tank farm. And my understanding is that the tank farm is not going to be moved for many years still. That you know, and maybe you can just give us, because unless you unlock that, you're not going to unlock the waterfront. You're not going to, you know, so your whole plan and development is linked to those kind of things. And I'd like to just some insight on that, please. Thank you.
Okay, so you're quite right. 2019, we started the process of wanting to demolish what was unsafe. We'd done some condition analysis and we needed to demolish that. Bayworld's very complex, which I think has been a learning curve for us too at the MBDA. As to demolishing a facility like that, there were many, many unforeseens that we hadn't anticipated when we asked for budget. So we very... I wouldn't say we were uninformed. We based our requests on studies that had been done, and we requested a 5 million because that's what we thought it was going to cost. we didn't take into account that the animals could not stay where they were at that time. The animals needed to move. So we had to get involved in a long process of trying to find new homes for the animals while the demolition was in process. And we went to Cape Town, we went to Durban, we went to Seaview, we went to Kucha, or trying to find the solution about where do we relocate the animals to. So eventually we decided the bowling green at the back is the best, it's municipally owned, we can do that. But it's quite technically challenging to be able to divert seawater supplies and do all the things. And we hadn't budgeted for that. So we have a very strict supply chain process. If you don't have sufficient budget for the project, you may not tender. So we had to cancel what was ready to go at that stage, 2019, in anticipation of budget coming last year. Last year, we know what happened. COVID happened, which implicated on budget availability as well. So we didn't have the full budget in the last financial year as well, but we do now. We've got substantially more than that, and that is why we are now demolishing. So the project that I explained has got the demolition part of it included, but it's bigger than that. It's also about creating something once the demolition is gone that could be a tourism space to be activated through experiences and events which can happen in there. Does that answer that one? On the demolition part of things. Clearly, Bayworld and 2.3 billion that is necessary for Bayworld is not a city's ability to find that kind of money. That we know. We acknowledge as a city, it is unlikely that we will find such a huge injection of money for Bayworld. So we need to find stakeholders that are going to fund various partnerships for implementation. That's what we're driving. And that is what we're starting to do, to find who will be the partners that will implement the various aspects of it. It is unlikely that the city it is a definite not that the city will be able to do that out of a rate space that we have. So we've got to find National Treasury money, we've got to look at the international research, etc., and those processes are what we're working on to get the bigger picture going. So budget it's a challenging walk, but we do have the full support of the city. Our EDTA sits on a steering committee with us to drive the process forward. Bayworld, the director of Bayworld, very supportive in marching this need for the funding through to provincial MEC, provincial treasury, and we are now in conversations with National Treasury to unlock what they call a big infrastructure grant, which is of the order of 1 to 3 billion, not in one tranche, but it could come over a number of years. So that is the kind of working that you need to do. But that kind of funding doesn't come overnight. There are kind of business plans that need to be done, specific applications, etc. And we are getting ready to make that application at the beginning of the next financial year. So we're moving closer and closer as we go on that. So I hope that covers your question on the Bayworld part of things. The question on the tank farm, I'm looking for my colleague at Transnet Kola, who has left. So I think that is a question that's best directed to Transnet, but in my understanding, it is not the case that the tank farms won't move for a long time. My understanding is, and Amelia, maybe you can confirm, that in our the fora that we sit on together with Transnet, my inclination was that the process is starting by the end of the year, beginning of next year. So I know that they might not be, there was the newspapers that they're not building new facility, but current facility has to be cleared because the waterfront, I think, is on everybody's priority list. That's my personal opinion, so I'm not quoting on behalf of Transnet. I think it would be good to speak to Transnet on exact dates, but I do not see that it is way in the future. I see that it's imminent and that we are working together to make this waterfront, Bayworld, Barkens, happen. Amelia, would you confirm that? Amelia chairs the forum where City, MBDA, Transnet and Kucha sit together, discussing a number of projects, and the waterfront and Bayworld and Barkens being one of those. And from that, would you confirm that it's not a long distance future, the removal of the tank farm issue? Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Once again, you chose the perfect word. say, look, there's two things, and it's also on what Gary has said. This is something that has come from 2019, and yes, COVID played a massive part, and I will be political in saying that also during that time at the MMC that we went on the destruction of the MBDA. That's my opinion. So MMC for EDTA, which was, let's not mention his name. But what I wanted to say is, obviously, I've been with you with the presentations, we've seen the development of it and the evolution of it, and I'm really excited for the project. We're aiming very high, which is great, because then if we aim high, then we either get there, we just get below, but we still have a massive success. The one concern as like a ward councillor, and I'm sorry that I'm bringing my ward councillor into it the whole time, is the Port Erasmus / Talking Park Stadium area has now become a problem where people are now using that field to play soccer on, which is not a problem per se, but the field, the state of the field, with metal and a lot of things that's been demolished on there, can cause a health hazard. Can I please ask that the MBA step in? I'm not expecting you to re-fence the area because we know we don't have budget for that. But there's also been illegal dumping taking place. So the residents are concerned about that sports field now being used again. They've actually put in somebody to cut the grass, so they're playing soccer there right there now. And then the second one is the illegal dumping and potential vagrancy issue that will come back, especially with the COVID state that we're on. So please just look at that. But thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, Councillor Gous. I'll take it back. And we'll engage with our colleagues too who are responsible for dumping or anti-dumping and see how we can address that problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Dora. Thank you, Councillor Gous, and the floor for the questions. We're going to have, I just got my colleague here, Uluvuyo, just tapping me on the shoulder to say COSAFA will be starting with their sound check at 12. I really wanted to give us a bit of a 5 minutes comfort break. But then looking at the time, it's definitely going to clash. I don't know the feel of the room, if I can call the next speaker or we need a 2 minutes comfort break. The feel of the room? The next speaker. All right. All right, then. The next speaker, we've got Mr. Sean van Eck, who will be talking in terms of the future planned projects that are done by the Metro under EDTA, that will talk to the development into the township. There are new routes that are in plan to be developed that will enable that inclusive growth, which is the theme for this year. Funny enough, yesterday we were celebrating Tourism World Day. So over to you, Mr. Sean van Eck, just to give us an overview of the future planned routes that are within our township.
Hi, folks. Nice to be with you. I'm going to say all protocol observed by calling you all fans of tourism. In fact, just one protocol, MMC. You are the best MMC we've ever had, as Councillor Gous alluded to. Look after that ankle, please. We'd like you to be MMC next year still. I'm not going to push, but yeah, that'd be nice. Folks, the future of tourism in Nelson Mandela Bay. So what you can do right now is smile. Sort of team smile. Come on, team smile from everyone. And the reason for that is that the changes in tourism over the last couple of years, plus the impact of COVID, has really played into our hands as a destination. We're not a destination with huge, big attractions, and those are not going to be effective any longer. So the smaller, more personal, immersive, and conversational types of experiences is where it's going, and we set up for that. And if we have a good vision, which I know we're developing, we'll be super successful. Mr. Tati, when I was privileged to be part of the launch team at the Boardwalk, we had a vision that was to be the most admired must-see attraction in the Eastern Cape. And I think you guys who know it will know that that was achieved. And I can't wait to see the new development finished. And what excites me is the Sun Park. I think that's going to contribute huge towards the city. So let me take it back into the townships, because we've spoken about big developments. And I think all of us have on our heart that we would like the benefits of tourism to flow to our township economies. It's not. Apart from employment that is happening, it really isn't great at all. So let me go through that quickly. That's Walmer Township. We're going to be working there as our first project. So that's where we're going, as I said, and have a look at that closely. Look at a couple of those titles. They're smaller, they're immersive, and they involve people. And that's the type of thing which we want to create in our townships. And it's very simple, if I can show you. You have good visitor experiences and stories. Emotions are triggered. And our current visitors become our biggest marketing asset through word of mouth. You guys know what it's like. What affects you more? Your friend saying, this place is amazing, you must come here, or an advert in a magazine? That is where we've got to go, folks. And that's why we want emotion-driven experiences to come out. And the result of it is that we have a marketing team all over the world, because everyone is telling people about us. A social media post that is exciting and that creates far more of an opportunity. In fact, on Facebook, there was recently a survey, and they found that 52% of people on Facebook who went to a new destination were inspired by posts from their close contacts. 1 in 2, folks. 1 in 2 were inspired by that. So this is the type of thing that we're looking for. Not huge, big amounts of people going into things, but conversational, immersive things. These are both in Australia. So take a look at that and then see how photographic and visual mediums and storytelling can combine into something special. So I said maybe adverts don't work as well, but how about that, if you saw it? Yeah, it doesn't say, yeah, you can catch fish on our area and the seafood is great as well, but that character-filled photo where fresh seafood comes with ancient stories. So that's where we want to drift towards and what we're looking to do with our townships. So currently, there's no brand in our townships. There are only 4 or 5 products that regularly get visitors. That was 2019. And there were only 3 products who were both on Instagram and Facebook and had regular posts. So that's back in the normal tourism times. So it's exciting. We're starting on a low base, and we're going to build up from there. And I just wanted to put some faces to it, because we talk township or community or whatever, and we just see this big thing. Have a look at these. There's Ayanda, who does ceramics. This incredible place, which you've got to go and see in Walmer Township, where people who are deaf, blind, and various other things make crafts. I honestly broke down crying when I went in there and I experienced it. It is incredible. The guys at Hand in Hand, the studios there, it's absolutely incredible, the brothers. Nandi, who's got a bed and breakfast, which is great, but she gets 2% of her people from visitors, and 98% are businessmen coming in to do business in the townships and that. We've got to change that. We've got to make sure. And then Zanamvula, who is the chairman of the Warmer Township Development Forum and a tour operator. He waited 10 years and eventually got his minibus funded, and now is waiting for things to happen. So just a bit of background very quickly. This is something I was lucky enough to be involved with and did in Knysna. We took the community experiences, quite controversially, and we branded them. And everyone's going, no, it shouldn't make a difference, yeah, all of that. And it called it Living Local. That was the sort of map that we produced for it. And here's some of the guys. Mwande, their second from the right, ended up as #1 on TripAdvisor under township tours. And that shows it can happen outside of Cape Town and Johannesburg. Brother Zev and the Rastas, there's a Rastafarian village which has the biggest Rastafarian group of people in South Africa. And then in showing how crafts and skills can go through, started off with this, with mosaic makers in the township, and that was the first one, and we got momentum going, and there now is a mosaic route in Sedgefield, and there are over 40 sculptures that are done by the crafters. You can see there. I mean, it's amazing the work that they do. And all of that comes from tourism. So here's our challenge going forward. We've got to get product development right and get a critical mass. We've got to have skilled product owners, and we've got to get that visitor growth. And those working together create that recommendation marketing, the word of mouth that I was talking about. And the cycle is quite easy. You get better experiences and products, which creates more word of mouth, which creates more tourists, and then has more entrepreneurs coming in. Better experiences, moving around and around. And that's what we've got to achieve there. I'm not going to go through that, but that's the type of thing that we want to do. I don't think we've shared it with MBDA yet, and we must, because I think it's a shared task between us. So the first phase of that, based on those areas that we've done, is the Igniter project, the local living brand, which I'll show you at the moment, a 4D production in Warmer Township, an experience accelerator, which is training, and then our authenticity initiative, which I'll tell you about in a moment. So there we are. Firstly, we have thought deeply and realized that we can't do the normal tourist type route that you get in Soweto in our townships. There just isn't enough yet, and it's very limited in how we can do it. So what we're doing is a totally new concept where we'll move through the township to monuments and important places and set up enterprise hubs there. The one in New Brighton, for instance, will be Madiba themed, and each of the stops will have one of the things that made Madiba special. So anything from the fact that when you were with them, he only focused on you, and people said he made you feel like royalty. And at each of those, we'll have one piece of craft. So we'll give them a little whatever you make a necklace out of at the beginning to the tourist. And then each of those craft pieces would be engraved to link to that personality trait. And that ensures that people will buy at each of the stops to create the whole necklace. And it promotes what we do. So we've got a very different approach to it by saying, let's create products where people can really enjoy it, which can be interactive. And as that grows, as our numbers grow, we can move to more traditional approaches. So you saw the brand for Knysna. We've moved to and looking at doing our brand for our community areas as local moments. Local moments because we want spontaneity. We want to be totally different to any other townships. Can I read that to you quickly? I mean, it's just lacquer. The moments you spend with us are different. Each is rare because our whole time together is spontaneous, never the same. They are more immersive, more moving, and more connected. Maybe that's what the difference is, the emotional connection that we'll share. It's different here. You see, we are because you are. We see our time together as an opportunity to share our humanity and create experiences that'll transform you. Our story becomes your story, and you won't find these chapters anywhere else. Enjoy the sensation of living in the moment. Local moments in Nelson Mandela Bay, real stories that stay with you. So can you get the feeling of it? It's totally different. It's about stories, and it gives... Our objective is to create roots in each of the community areas, call them townships. Some might be joined. And for those of you who wonder, in Kariga as well. They always seem to get left out. But so that's the brand that we'll follow and link to. And then this is just... This is in phase one. All of these projects are in phase one. Please don't tell anyone about it as yet because I don't want other destinations covering it. But this gives you an idea of where we go with this type of thing. In the mid-'80s, there was a protest march, and there was a young girl who got killed when she was hit by a tear gas canister. So what was being thought of was to put up a little monument for her. And I said to the Warmer guys, let's extend, let's think further. And what we came up with is, and this doesn't exist, we'll create a 4D surround sound goggled experience of a protest march. So you'll have your goggles on and you will be in the middle of people with the signs and posters they used to have, singing struggle songs and just that whole vibe. And we'll do it with 4D cameras and sound and that. So you will be able to experience what it was like in those days. And it's a mental blast. It'll be an absolute winner. And the young girl, remember what I said about emotions? The young girl, and I know it's a sad emotion at the end, but it's an emotion. She will narrate every now and then. She'll say, yeah, it started off as a normal morning, and then we heard that Comrade Biko had been killed, and people just wanted to express their feelings about it. And then she'll go off as part of it and join up and so on again. And then when people disperse after the tear gas, she'll be left lying on the road. And yeah, just as there, it's so emotional and so real. So that's the third one. We then want to do an accelerator project where we train all of the tourism operators in the area, the products, the tour operators, and that in the latest thinking. Yeah, most of what we have are tourism products. We want tourism experiences, so we want to take it one step further. And it's incredible just from one workshop how enthusiastic the township operators are. And then the bane of my life and the most exciting thing of my life. What, if you look at food or fashion or crafts and that type of thing, what is unique to Nelson Mandela Bay? How many can you think of? We've become, after being the city of first, we've become the city of copycats. You Google food in Nelson Mandela Bay restaurants. The first 2 are sushi, the next 3 are pasta, Italian restaurants, and then you've got a couple of steak restaurants. There's nothing that talks to indigenous food with a modern take on it. So that's what we want to look for there. We want to get into creating unique things, nowhere else on earth things, because that's what the new tourism is all about. So you can see it there. I'll make the slide available. Product development, capacity building, leadership, and effective marketing out of those things. And that's just phase 1. So we'll move on to further phases. And just to give you a quick example to end off with, Sifukazi, to show you how Warmer is coming together. So at the beginning, there'll be a wall, which we'll call the invisible wall, because you know what it's like at Warmer, even today still, but in the struggle years, you couldn't go out in the evening from Warmer. And the white people from the suburbs didn't go in there either. So it's almost like an invisible wall that was there. And this is just part of it as well, the sculpture of someone trying to break that wall open. Then the 4D production will be over after that at the Enterprise Village. We're trying to get this. It's Moki Kasani's house, which looks inside, well, house, his shack. It looks inside as though Steve Biko has just walked out of there. It's still everything that matches that. So that'll be one of the stops, we hope. This is an incredible project. It's a community vegetable garden. All of this is finished now. This is taken a while ago, with potentially a little traditional restaurant and that. You can see it there coming together. Now it flows, and I'd love to see our local tourism products buying their produce from places like that, and we'll talk about that later. There's Sia Pambile, the disabled project, and then just a crazy dream that we have. That's the Apple Express in the old days, going past Warmer Township. So what we'd love to do, and we've started speaking about one of the carriages, is to have one of the carriages on the railway line there permanently and serving traditional with a modern take on it food for visitors during the day and locals during the night. So can you get a bit of a feel for that? It's different. And the last thing with that, which really caps it off on top, is the tour operator won't tell everything. There's a little acting NGO there, and we will use actors at various places on the tour to jump on board or go next to the vehicle and tell and act out the stories. And those are the things that make it special. We can create nowhere else on earth route experiences, and we'll be totally and absolutely different. So I hope that inspires you a little bit. It's the beginning of this thing. I must say the Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality, and especially EDTA, have been incredible. They've recognized this, created community tourism forums in all of the townships, and now we're flying. So next in Daba, we'll launch Warmer, and we'll have you all there before that, and you're going to be blown away. So thanks, guys.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Sean. We've got a second presenter. from Nelson Mandela Bay Project. The city has projects that are enablers to the economy. And I usually say as well to my acting ED and the acting city manager that tourism cuts across to everything. If you're an investor, there's a bit of tourism in it. If you're a tourist, there is a tourism within it. If you're a resident, there is a bit of tourism with it because you still go out to a restaurant, you still go out to take your kids for entertainment, you still also go out to an entertainment to entertain yourself. I'll call up on Amelia. Amelia is a director for special project for the institution. She will just give us some few key Catholic projects that they are working on as a city that will enable the economy of the city.
Madam Program Director, is it loud and clear enough? Madam Program Director, I'm not sure where the MMC went. Councillor, ladies and gentlemen, what a privilege to be here today. And I love PE. And yes, I also get passionate about the city. And Sean, you have set the scene for my talk. Thank you very much. And Councillor Gous, sorry, not in your ward. We are moving beyond. We are looking after the rest of the city. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the developments that's happening in New Brighton, KwaZakele area, with a specific focus on the Njoli area. This is the blue highlighted area focuses on the core of what I'm going to share with you today. And that the blue indicates the footprint. 72 families have relocated there to make way for development. And it's in the heart of one of the oldest suburbs of Nelson Mandela Bay. And it's also located on a main intersection with main routes, Darku Road going all the way to Motherwell, and Njoli coming from Tikisa Road. So it is a humming, buzzing area of people, of herbalists, of informal traders. The buzz is in the Njoli area. Just showing you the bigger picture of what is happening in the New Brighton, KwaZakele area. That is the Njoli Square area, but all along the main routes there are many projects that's going to be developed that have been identified. Starting off from Njoli, you get the Mendi Memorial. You've got the Mendi Arts and Crafts Centre. You've got Mbazweni Square, which at night time and weekends, it comes alive. All the people and just being there, the vibe, it is fantastic. And we need to bring tourists there to bring in money and to also brag with what can happen in the townships. We also have the red location is there. We know there's a bit of struggle around it, but most of the projects along that complement this entire precinct are not focused on struggle history, but more on, wow, this is the new modern township where we can have tourists and show them how state-of-the-art development can happen in a township area. So what we are trying to address in the Njoli area is to focus mainly on what are the needs of the locals, but create more. We want to really bring new development, breathe fresh air into the environment. We want to create a sense of space because this is in the heart of a very old suburb of town. because it's a pedestrian-orientated area, we want to create a safe space for the people to move in. Safety being a big focus. It must be convenient, secure, comfortable. We want to focus on the economy, regenerating the township economy, and very important, we want the private sector to bring their money to invest in this area. So the 72 families that's relocated, this once again shows the footprint, and this used to be the Njoli Circle, which is also called the Njoli Square, but that is what it looked like. So this is more the footprint showing how the roads have been upgraded. It's become an intersection, and this is available spaces for development. So the road has given us the opportunity to develop 4 quadrants. So what we would like to do is, as the economy starts to develop, we can promote these areas, put it out to market for the private sector to get involved and put their money into the township. This is just the first quadrant. At the moment there is a taxi rank, but we would like to develop a market for informal traders. There's a lot of livestock, goats, chickens in the area. Make it more hygiene, healthy area. Create a nice, soft area for pedestrians to move in, to sit, relax, and then spaces for the informal traders. Then in the second quadrant, we can look at multi-story development, mixed-use development. As we color the picture in further, the taxi area presents a huge opportunity for redevelopment, food markets, and the final quadrant is we would like to go retail, commercial development. So if we had to color in the picture more, there is office space that can be developed, the IPTS station, the livestock market, a roofed market, informal traders, opportunity for a medical center, the private sector to get involved, work spaces where crafters or people that's engaged in economic activities, create a space for them where they can do that and maybe live on top of their shop. So this is the vision for Njoli. What we've done so far is we're busy with the road construction, and National Treasury is giving money so that we can start with the development, fill in these spaces that is available and vacant. And then this will be the first of the different nodes that I refer to. But I also just briefly want to refer to, I am part of a forum which consists of state-owned enterprises, and we're looking at other developments in the city. And it's so important that we talk to the other state-owned enterprises and that we engage with them. The biggest one obviously being Transnet, with the manganese relocating from the waterfront. I know it's been a frustration. I know that it has been slow. I know Transnet has had their own challenges, and they've had a change in leadership. And I think Transnet they have landed, and they are now going to their head offices, also relocated. So we're going to start to see changes that's going to happen in the metro, because they are a big landowner share. They make a big contribution to the city. Another partner on our state-owned enterprise forum is the airports company, and you've heard about their plans today, Claudia. Very exciting, thank you. The MBDA is part of our group, and the Apple Express, which is part of Transnet. We are engaging with Transnet. They have been a bit slow, and yes, we are pushing the little steamer to get going, but once old Rusty is going, it's going to be a big tourist attraction, because like the Dolphins has been, so is the Apple Express. We are sentimental about it, and we had a pilot running in 2018, and it has showed that it's got a lot of potential for development. Looking a bit further afield, there's also in Kariga, in Uitenhage, a precinct plan that's being developed around the science centre, the old railway sheds, including the sports facility, so that we don't forget about the other half of the metro beyond the Chatty River. From my side, I'm not sure if there's any questions.
Thank you, Amelia. I think I can ask you to remain. And also Mr. Van Eck to be on standby. There were two presentations that was done by Mr. Van Eck talking about the township route development, what we're looking at the future, what we as a city looking at. We're not only enabling the tourism within the other side of the N2, but also looking on the other side as well. Surely shown the repercussions that you referred to what you have done in Woma, definitely to New Brighton, as Emily has started to show us the route of Njoli. The notes that she put it, coming from that area myself, I know there's a lot of history that is in those routes that, Emily, you just mentioned in your presentation. So any questions for Mr. Van Eck, as well as Amelia? Councillor Gous? Noted.
Yeah, you're speaking a lot. Sean, it's always great to hear you speak because you've got this passion and this, you know, you get it right to excite people for what's coming. If I can just ask, and I raised this in our committee as well, that 4D sort of experience is fantastic, and I think that will add a whole new dimension. But is it possible that, let's say, on special occasions, we actually use our artists and our actors to replay the event in real life? Whether it is once a month, perhaps, for like a tourism bus, or when our cruise liners come in, where we actually have people that walk around in the middle of something like that taking place. So it's almost like a stage play, but you as the person on the goosebumps taking away. So instead of real tear gas, we can just use like something. So we don't tear gas our visitors. But I'm thinking something like that would be fantastic when it is a big event. Like when it is tourism, then we're going to go every Saturday, we do a live experience of that. I think because then not only do our actors and our artists benefit from that, but it also creates the real life experience. Not 4D, real life of what happened. And it will tell that story so significant. So I think I love that idea. You've got me hooked, but that is what I'm thinking for that. And thank you for the presentation as well. It's not on my award, so I'm joking.
Councillor, you're absolutely right. That goes to the hands-on immersive side of things. And all of those signs and that we use in the fall, we'll keep for that and for sure do it on big days. Thanks.
Can I just say something that it's so heavy on my heart, the security and the cleanliness, and I say it at every meeting. We in EDTA and the tourism side are so passionate, and you hear it with everybody who talks. They love our city, but we have such a huge, big problem with security, safety, and with cleanliness, and we need to get those departments to catch our enthusiasm and our passion. So I want to ask that when we do have tourism things, can we not insist that somebody from those departments come along as well, so that they can see tourism will not survive if the tourists are not safe. Whether you are a local tourist, whether you are a foreign tourist, and litter and things like that strewn everywhere is such a dampening feeling on anybody when they look and they see unkept and uncared for. So we really need to shape those departments, because I know it's not good guys. You understand tourism, you get tourism, but they don't. And I really, really, really want us to say that if we unique vibes and things to do, we will fly. Nobody will be able to stop us. So can I just ask that, because those are, and I mean, I was at that township in Darba at the beginning, and it's not just me with my lily white hair and my lily white skin. Every single tour operator, person who's got a business in tourism in the townships, they are crying because of the safety and because of the mess. So can I just put that out there? Thank you.
These masks are the challenge.
Yeah. Make carefully, Gary.
My name is Boardwalk. Amelia and Sean, thank you for that presentation. As part of one of the caps that I wore is I chaired the Calabash Trust, and I don't know if how many of you remember Paul Miedemar, and he did a lot of work in the township in terms of the township economy and that type of thing. We're shutting that trust down, and it's a reflection of the changes that have happened in the township over the years. So, I mean, I recall the township being very vibrant in the early 90s or the 90s. There's a very vibrant economy in the township all throughout the township. And, you know, so Amelia, I hear your presentation and I see what you want to do in terms of Njoli, but I think if you've been to the Kentucky Fried and Njoli, it's worse than going to a bank. In terms of getting access into it and getting your chicken out of the Kentucky Fried, it's high security, that type of thing. You know, and for me, the great sadness is we have this Mendi Arts and Culture Center, but right behind the Mendi Arts and Culture Center is the Emuleni Heritage Park, Memorial Park. And in between that is a dump that has now become it's an informal dump, but it's a formal dump in the sense that every week there's a grader that comes along and cleans out that area. And so my concern is not the creation of new products. My concern is the capturing the maintenance of the current products that we have. The Lunga Memorial, same thing. Dan Klikter Stadium. Whichever memorial that we've put up in place has been vandalized, has not been looked after. Does the municipality and the tourism industry have a tangible plan for the maintenance of those facilities? You know, so we can create a whole lot of excitement, but I can guarantee you don't want to take a tourist into the township right now, because there's rubble piled high. If you go through Motherwell, same thing. There's rubbish on every street, and the municipality seems to be blaming the residents for that. I'm not sure that that's the best collaborative arrangement that can take place. Red Location Museum, if you've been to that, it's a tragedy in terms of what it could be and what it is at this point in time. So the real question, and I think that I'll come back to that, is what plan does the municipality have in terms of across the silos, in terms of maintaining those assets? Because if there is a city that has a story to tell, it is this city. We are the first of many. But to regenerate that, we have to look after what we already have in place. Thanks.
Well, if I can just comment on the other two comments that you made about cleanliness and safety. Yes, and maintenance of the facilities. It is a grave concern. And during lockdown, of course, everything was locked down, but some people were active. The city has gone back a lot, but at least we're at a base now where we can start to improve it. And previously, yes, we used to have projects without operating plans, but things have changed. So whenever we implement a project now, our operation plan is critical, and we've moved beyond operating in silos. We've got forums like the Built Environment Technical Task Team, where we collaborate with my colleagues in public health, in human settlements, so that it's a collected effort when we implement a project. But it is a high priority to focus on security and cleanliness.
You know, if I use St. George's Pool as an example, there's two water capturing tanks lying in the bottom of that pool. And they've been lying there for the last year. It's a simple thing to go there and take those things out. It's not capital intensive. It's nothing of the kind. Drain the pool, close it off, that kind of stuff. The fence that goes around the pool now stops short of the door that gives you access into the pool. So it's not going to stop the vagrants going in, the vandals or whoever's doing it. I hear that you have lots of forums. I don't see stuff happening. I don't see accountability of officials in terms of that stuff. And that pool sits right next to the directorate. You know, if you go for a tea break, surely you see that. Surely you do something. You know, that's the energy that I'm missing in the discussion, because this is a fantastic place. It could be the best little metro. You know, it's a difficult question to pose to you, because you're the official. I understand what you. But how do we unlock that energy in terms of, you know, COVID came, but I mean, COVID can't be the excuse for everything. You can't blame COVID for a person that can't walk around their own precinct and say, you understand my concern.
If I could just do a quick commercial. Please use the municipal app. Because whenever I see a pothole, I realize that my roads colleague maybe doesn't travel the same road as what I do. So how would he know about my pothole? So on the municipal app, there is a section to report an incident. You take out your phone, you take a picture, it gives the coordinates of where that challenge is, it gets uploaded and you get a reference. And it's by only reporting all of those things that the Metro will be aware of all the challenges. Because I spend 90% of my time in my office. I don't really get out and move around. So we rely on the public to bring it to the attention of the organization. It must be a team effort to say, listen here, this fence is broken. This sidewalk at the beachfront has fallen in, because as officials we don't cover the city. So please use the municipal app to report what is wrong in the city and follow up. If you haven't seen a difference within a few days, call again the 0800 number to report. Good.
Social media, emails, they don't get a reference number, and the officials never get to hear about it, because some of us avoid Facebook, you know. So it's important that people start reporting these things, getting a reference number, and then at least we can follow up and sort the issues.
I mean, I don't want to make it a tense match, but the residents do that already. So, Imoleni, you can't tell me that you're not aware of them. You can't tell me that you're not aware of St. George's Pool. You can't tell me that you're not aware of Dan Pete Stadium. Those things are public knowledge and have been for years. If we have to turn the city around, someone has to be accountable for doing something. You're putting it on the residents. You're saying we must use the app, we must report these things. We do exactly that. So I've written to the directorates concerned and not received responses on that stuff. So what more do we do in terms of that? And I think that's the, you know, and Sheena was hesitant earlier to raise her voice because it sounds negative. But unless we unlock so we don't lack for plans. The plans that you've seen here today are fantastic plans. They're world-class, there's world-class facilities now. But unless we are able to implement those plans, they're meaningless. And the people in the township don't see that. That's just my sorry. I'll leave the floor to talking to Councillor.
Okay. Hi, Sama from the Herald newspaper here.
we're being very negative, and I almost don't want to ask this question because I'm also adding on to the not so positives of this. I was going to speak on the issue of crime. When we speak of township tourism, it's a big concern, especially in the New Brighton side. It's known by people who haven't even been to PE that they must not step into New Brighton, and that's not a good look. So I was going to ask, for practical solutions, as we don't have anyone from safety and security, it seems. But I'm sure that there have been meetings and there have been talks to sort that out. So I don't know if there's anyone here who has practical solutions to say, this is what is being done for tourists to not go to New Brighton and get mugged, so that, it's just easier for everyone to go to New Brighton. But the other thing is, I've loved the plans and what everyone is working on to make tourism the future of Nelson Mandela Bay. But I do have a genuine ask that are we really able to make tourism the future of the city when we struggle to go a week with both water and electricity? What is tourism? And maybe Councillor Sejadu will have something to say about this. Of course, it has its own department, but water and electricity form a big part of tourism, and we don't want tourists coming to a city with no water and no electricity. So, from the tourism side, what practical solutions are there to that, to make sure that tourists do come and find water and find electricity?
Yeah, thank you, Zama. Before I give Councillor Jadu one more, or should I? Oh. Okay.
Thank you. I just wanted to respond about, and I'm taking my MBDA hat off, and it's just me speaking. So I have a suggestion that I think works in many other cities and in the rest of the world in certain places, is to stop looking to the city to solve all the problems, because it's not going to happen at the moment. The city is cash-strapped. We are struggling. I believe that there is a shortage of staff. Some departments are not back full-time yet, and so when you're on a roster system, you are struggling to do what you would have normally have done. To me, the answer, one of the answers, lies in either a special rating area or a CID district, where we, and I'm now putting my own ratepayer hat on, where we start doing something. Because just reporting a fault and keeping on pointing fingers to say, you must, we're not going to get where we want to be. We've got to find a way that we can together do. And I think that a tool that is there, there's a precedent in Richmond Hill and in Central. I know that there are a lot of other areas that are wanting to start as well, where you pay, because obviously the funding of it is the big problem, where you pay a tiny amount on your extra on your rates bill, or you can, there are various ways of organizing it. You don't have to do it through a municipal system, you can do it as an independent body, but that you start taking charge of your own services. There's a brilliant example of a Free State town, and I just wish I could remember where it is, that where a local farmer, together with the community in that town, has taken over the responsibility of electricity, sewage removal, refuse removal. They are providing the service to the town and sorting out the problems because they stood up and took charge. And so actually what they're doing is they're billing the Metro councillors. Please don't blame me if this idea takes off and you get billed by residents. But what I'm suggesting is we've got to look differently at the problem and see how we together can start being part of the solution rather than making it a council problem all the time. And I think there are parts of the world that have done that very, very successfully. In Brazil, there are models of doing that. In India, there are models of doing it where citizens and residents are taking responsibility in partnership with. And an SRA or a CIDB, lots of areas in Cape Town, to me is one of the ways that we could look at an alternative solution. Just my 2 cents worth.
All right, thank you for that suggestion. I think we're coming to close our program. I will call upon the stage Mr. Makwabe, the Acting Executive Director for EDTA.
Well, thank you, Program Director. Thanks to you and your team for putting this together. But I might be tempted to respond. But mine is simple but important, the task that I've been asked to perform here. Let me assure you that behind the scenes, there's a lot of work that is happening. For instance, I chair a BIDS evaluation committee that does a lot of work. And we meet as management every Monday morning. And the MMCs, in performing their oversight function, whip management, asking questions. Why is this item not approved? Where is this? And so on. So there's a lot of work that is happening behind the scenes. I was supposed to sit in that BEC today, but there were no items. We had dealt with the items. So there's a lot of work that happens. You might not see it now, but I can assure you that you will see some improvement. Your points are very clear, they're valid, the concerns that you've raised. So thanks for that. Mine is really to appreciate your time, to thank you for making the time to come here. All of you, engage with us, offer these ideas and views that we need as a city. Because the city really is focused on 3 or 4 priorities. The drought issue that we have, economic recovery, the financial stability and governance and stability that we need politically and administratively. So the city is focused on that. But this is part of economic recovery, this we're discussing here today, which is quite critical. We have the economic recovery framework that we have, we're busy implementing. And we note that revenue collection rates, for instance, have dropped, have declined from 94% pre-COVID to just 84% as we speak now. And it's because the business is struggling. Resilient business and industries, they are struggling. So we're concerned about that. We presented in some session somewhere a municipal management forum where we discussed a whole lot of things. Municipal managers were concerned, but they were still commending us for the high collection rate that we have. We still maintain because of businesses and industries that are still with us. And our work really is to try and retain and secure these investments. And there's a lot of work that we do, which I could outline here. And some of my colleagues have mentioned these things that we're trying to do. The problems are old. Safety and security, cleanliness of the city, old infrastructure, and many other things that we all know. But the solution that we come up with must be new. And you can't have solutions that people are planning for themselves somewhere in silo, not with other people. And this is the crux of the problem. So having been asked to act for a few months, I've engaged a whole lot of people, including some of my colleagues, the other executive directors, and I realize that they are not aware of this. They don't understand the importance of putting economic development the center at the core of what we do. Building infrastructure for what? For what purpose? If there would be no economic activity and so on. Maintaining, why? They don't understand why you need to maintain something for tourism, for travel, for this, for that. So we have to influence, educate, workshop our own colleagues. It doesn't mean that they're not doing the work, but the work might be misdirected, the effort. So aligning and coordinating the work is quite critical. So mine is to share with you and assure you that there's work that is underway. We are working hard, and there's budgets. Of course, there's budget limitations due to the revenues and many other things, but you being here, the same conversations we're having with other executive directors, politicians and so on. They are aware of what we are trying to do, and in their own space, they are really whipping us to do the work. I'm not a politician myself, but they are keeping us on our toes. So that's the assurance I wanted to give, and also to thank you I want to thank our MMC, Councillor House in his absence, the Standing Committee for their guidance, the directives that they are giving us, the ideas, the views that they share with us, particularly the support. They go a long way in supporting us. So I wish to thank them. I wish to thank our partners, Boardwalk, the GM. Thank you, sir, for joining us. You missed a cookout we had there with the acting executive mayor. We had fun there in your kitchen, cooking for our kids. Thank you so much for being a friend to us, always agreeing to host us and work with us. I wish to thank AXA for the work that they do. If you saw that they still maintain the 1,200, I don't know if it's still there, 1,200 jobs that you secure and maintain, but that work that you do is very important for us. There's communities just on the periphery of that principle of yours. Those people depend highly and heavily in the work that you do. So we appreciate that work that you do. We'll engage further with you because your plans, together with the MBDA plans, are aligned to the plans of the city. It's just a way of ensuring that all that work is coordinated, including the work that Boardwalk is doing there. I want to thank MBDA for the work that they do, Ashraf and his team there, Doril. We worked together for some time. It's good to see that you are still steaming ahead and your dream is not deferred in any way. You still have that energy. We wish to thank you for your effort, for your passion. And I'm glad that I'm not taking any questions. I want to thank I want to thank the colleagues who've asked the questions. They're quite frank and direct and robust. They're tough questions, difficult, but they need answering. And we tried to answer these questions. Some of them we can't. The solutions are sitting with all of us. And I want to thank the media that is here, the stakeholders that we tourism stakeholders, NMBT, the industry. Shina, the questions that you've asked, cleanliness and the safety issue that you always bring on board, we've taken that to safety and security, to Mr. Sbia, and so on. And what we did, also just to share, we are repackaging catalytic project as well. Some of them, they feature in the presentation that you saw by MBDA. We're repackaging them, working with transactional advisors, because we understand that there's a need to repackage these projects, get investment, get partners, because some of the assets that we have as a city are underutilized, mismanaged, and so on. We could derive revenues from those. And we're challenged in one meeting, the MMC attended that meeting with myself, that the Eastern Cape does not provide to National Treasury viable projects that could be funded. You remember MMC? They challenged, and we wanted to say with them, but we do have these projects. The new minister was saying so, Godongwan. So we want to challenge National Treasury. We work with National Treasury. Our colleague here, Ms. Amelia Bochner, worked very closely with National Treasury. MBDA works with National Treasury, and some of our colleagues. We should challenge them with viable projects. Say, they are the projects. They are ready. Come, give us the money. We'll implement. There would be impact. There would be public participation. There would be jobs. Our people will benefit. There's beneficiation. But importantly, SMME development. We appointed recently a socio-economic consultant. That ensures that the city gives work, 30% for now, to SMMEs. And we're going to engage AXA in regards to that, because that stability is important for the city. If you have people protesting, vandalizing, and doing all kinds of things, you have those KZN moments and so on. We don't want those things. So the city is very deliberate to implement a 30% set-aside policy that takes care of our SMMEs. It's not sustainable to have big business and no transformation at all. It can be. You have to share the piece of the cake with other people so that you sustain. You develop the township economic development that we always mention. It's not a theoretical thing. It has to be practical. And that's the work that we do to ensure that these things are practical. Amelia would have touched on the work that we do around businesses that are not within SEZ, the special economic zones. There's work that we're doing there. Their concerns are the same that you have in terms of tourism, the sector, safety and security. Remember, the SEZ provides that. But beyond that, there's no provision of such. So they are concerned, they want safety and security, they want services, they want all kinds of things. And so we have logistics parks that we're trying to incorporate into the SEZs, but we're engaging directly with them now. Because for us to plan and repackage and do all these things without having a conversation with those businesses is futile. So we're doing that. So we recognize as a city that it is these businesses that are paying the rates and taxes. We might be able to help them during COVID lockdowns and so on with incentives, with rebates and all these kinds of things, but we can't do much if they do not continue to pay. And what do we do as a city to assist? We enable, put infrastructure, ICT, safety and security, clean up the city, and so on. And that's the work that we're doing. So I wish to thank all of you for coming, the EDTA colleagues, for the hard work that they do, and generally the NMBM colleagues. Way forward is clear engagements, listen to one another. That's important. You can't. If Herald has a concern, they must come to us. We engage. We deal with that concern. There's no point in reporting about something if you have not engaged us to respond to you. There might be something that will tell you that you might not know, but your concerns must be highlighted, and we must engage and deal with them. Formalize the relationships. It's important to formalize relationships, and that's what we've been doing now. You can't have a relationship that you don't have some kind of, terms of reference, guidance, and a way to monitor and hold each other accountable. Call out each other if we don't perform and do the work that we said we're going to do. And so we need to do that. Mobilize resources together. If you are going to go out and go and mobilize resources from National Treasury and the Eastern Cape Department and National, you look ridiculous there when you are asked, but where is your municipality? Where is this one? Where is that one? And you'll be sent back. That's why you need to mobilize with, all of us must just mobilize, but we have to repackage the projects and be very clear. The products that we're developing have to be uniquely NMBM, and that's what we're doing now. That's why Sean is doing a lot of work, township tourism, product development there, and many other things that we try to do. They can't be abstract. You can't have a Mendi and there's no economic activity around Mendi, participation, beneficiation by people, a very clear sustainable program around it. You can't have it. Lastly, hold each other accountable, as I said. There must be clear mandates, clear roles and responsibilities, and we must perform the work that we need. The team itself is committed. That's what I wanted to tell you. This team, EDTA team. And so, with those words, thank you very much. We wish to give out a few gifts. Spogi will help me. MMC? Can we give out a few of these gifts? Our political leader there will help Spogas. Spogas, you'll direct us. All the speakers. Does it include the MMC? Spog? Yes. Our own MMC must get. Yes. Thank you, speakers.